Hello and welcome to another segment of Interviews That Matter. I'm your host Raj Mehta. Friends, in this segment, we bring those guests who influence our lives. This includes elected officials, policymakers, heads of major organizations, and other dignitaries. It is my sincere hope that the knowledge brought in by this guest will help our community. Today, we have such individual is Judge Scott Fairgrieve. Judge has been a district court judge for 12 years and he has tremendous experience in tenant-landlord cases as well as drunk driving cases. Let's meet Judge Fairgrieve. Judge, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you for taking time, sir. Okay, first, before we go into any other subject, I would like to know what is your background? How did you become judge? And you've been judge for a long time, I guess.
Well, I've been a judge for 12 years, in the Nassau County District Court.
Okay.
It's a long road to become a judge. Basically, you have to go to college 4 years, and then you have to go to law school for 3 years. I went to St. John's University, graduated in 1976 from law school.
Okay.
I passed the bar exam on the first time.
Wow.
Okay. I was so happy. The night that I found that I passed the exam, I was screaming and yelling and jumping up and down in the apartment because it was a long haul. 3 years in law school and 2 months you have to study for the bar exam. The bar exam is a 2-day exam that's given to you that measures your knowledge of the law.
Right.
And when you pass that, there's nothing more exciting in life, maybe other than getting married or having a child.
Wow.
Yeah.
So but you were early 20s, I guess, right?
I was approximately 25 and a half when I finally passed the bar. And then after that, you have to be qualified to become a lawyer. And you have to fill out an application showing them that you're morally equipped to be a lawyer. And then in 1977, I was finally admitted to the bar in the state of New York.
Okay.
And I practiced law for about 25 years on Long Island, and also did work in New York City. It was a general practice background that I had in both litigation and also buying and selling real estate, landlord-tenant, buying and selling businesses. So I had I did some trial work, a lot of depositions. A deposition is where you ask people questions about a case, and a lot of motion practice. It's where you do court papers for a judge to make legal decisions on issues.
Okay.
So finally, in the year 2000, I had a chance to run for Nassau County District Court Judge, and I seized the opportunity. It was something I always wanted to do. And I ran for judge. And the question is, why do you want to become a judge?
Right.
Because a lot of times you can make more money in private practice than you can as a judge.
Yes.
And there were reasons. I like working with books. I like working with legal issues. I like deciding cases, trying to resolve cases for people. And I like ideas, and the idea of writing decisions was very appealing to me. So I ran for election. I ran on the Democratic ticket, and I won election in 2000, and I was sworn in as a judge in 2001.
Okay.
And in 2001, I served for 6 years, and I ran for re-election in 2006, and I was re-elected with 65% of the vote out of the town of North Hempstead.
I know, Judge, that when you say that when you passed the bar exam, you jumped, and you were very happy. I know you very well. You still can jump now also.
I run a lot.
You run a lot. You're a marathon runner,
yes,
and you also played tennis.
We played tennis together.
We played tennis together, right? So I know you still can jump. So
Yeah. Yeah, and you move well on the court too.
I know that very well. So, Judge, what are the normal cases in district courts? What do you?
Well, let me tell you. Actually, would it be okay if I told you a little bit about the Nassau County District Court?
Absolutely.
Because a lot of people just are not familiar with what we do.
Okay.
Okay. The district court only exists in Nassau County and Western Suffolk.
Okay.
That's the only parts of New York State that we exist in.
Okay.
Okay. presently there are 26 district court judges.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I serve all in Nassau County, but we're elected out of the towns. So let me explain to the audience what I mean by that.
Okay.
Nassau County has 3 towns.
Okay.
The town of North Hempstead,
Yes.
which is Mineola North, which includes Mineola, Albertson, Great Neck, Manhasset,
Right.
Port Washington, etc. We have 5 district court judges elected out of the town of North Hempstead.
Okay.
There are about
Okay.
16 judges elected out of the town of Hempstead, and there are about 6 judges elected out of the town of Oyster Bay. Now, your audience is probably wondering, well, how do they determine 5 out of North Hempstead, 16 out of town of Hempstead,
Right,
and
right.
6 out of Oyster Bay? It's
Right.
based upon population.
Oh, okay.
So the town of North Hempstead has the smallest population, so we have the smallest amount of people running.
Okay. And then, whoever gets the top 5 votes, number of votes,
Well,
highest number of votes gets elected.
See, that's it. Okay. We're not, all 5 of us in North Hempstead are not elected at the same time.
Okay.
So, so this year, okay, it's very interesting you asked that. This year, I'm running for re-election again.
Right.
The district court judge's term is 6 years.
Right.
So I'm running for re-election this year, and I'm running on the Democratic ticket, the Independence Party, Working Families,
Right.
and the Green Party.
Oh, okay.
So I have 4 lines,
Okay.
and my opponent is running on the Republican and Conservative line.
So again, I want to come back to the normal cases that you get into
Okay.
district court.
Okay, so in district court,
Right.
we have criminal and we have civil.
Okay.
Okay. Now, my area, okay, we in district court, the criminal cases include misdemeanors. Okay, let me backtrack. The district court handles arraignments.
Okay.
So if somebody is arrested for murder,
Okay.
rape, drug sales, robbery, burglary, criminal contempt, or any other crime, the person will be brought into the district court for arraignments. An arraignment is where you are you're made aware of the charges against you. You will be represented by a legal aid attorney if you don't have a private attorney there.
Right.
So if somebody is arrested for like drunk driving,
Right.
if the person doesn't have a private attorney to represent them at the arraignment, then legal aid is there to represent them.
Okay.
So you basically, generally the charges against people are not read. Everybody waives the reading of the charges.
Okay.
So if let's say you're arrested for drunk driving,
Okay.
they don't read the charges.
Okay.
So there'll be a plea of not guilty, you'll demand a jury trial, and then the issue of bail comes up. Bail is where how much money is going to be required to be posted
Right.
in order for somebody to get out of jail.
Right.
Now, there are 3 statuses on
Right.
bail.
Right. Right.
One
okay.
is something called ROR, which means you're released without any money being set.
Okay. Okay.
So that happens in a lot of cases. A judge does not require bail because the whole purpose of bail is to make sure somebody comes back to court.
Oh yeah, they don't run away.
Right.
Like that.
That's the whole.
Right,
That's the whole. That's the
Right.
whole thing with
Right.
bail.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
The next one is bail. There's a recent Court of Appeals case which just came out from the Court of Appeals is the highest court in New York State. The highest court has said that a judge doing an arraignment has to set 2 forms of bail, a bond or cash.
Okay.
So say, for example, somebody comes in, Mr. Smith.
Right.
Mr. Smith is arrested for drunk driving.
Right.
Mr. Smith has a history of not coming back to court. He doesn't show up. And bench warrants have to be issued. Bench warrant is where if somebody doesn't come back to court, a court can issue a warrant for that person's arrest so that the officials will go out and bring him into court in handcuffs. So let's say Mr. Smith doesn't come to court. So let's say a judge sets a bail at $20,000 bond over $10,000 cash. The person will either have to get a bond from a company, a surety company,
Right.
or
Right.
post $10,000 in cash to get out of jail. In some cases, there's something called a remand. So let's say that somebody kills somebody, killed people. there is a possibility that a judge may not set bail, but instead will remand the person for trial. That no bail, that the judge is not going to allow any bail to be posted because they think that the risk is too high that the person is going to flee.
Right.
So we do arraignments. We also handle drunk driving cases. We have special parts for people who are arrested for drunk driving. About 3,800 to 4,000 people are arrested every year in Nassau County for drunk driving.
Oh yeah?
Yes, that many.
So what do you consider as drunk driving? I mean, is it like, for example, you have 2-3 drinks and...
Okay, very good question. The legal standard in New York State is .08.
Okay.
So I'm about 170-pound male.
Right.
Approximately 3.5, 4 beers in an hour will take me to the .08 level, which will make it a crime for me to drive. For a female, 120 pounds, it could be 2.5 beers maybe in an hour to get that person up to the drunk driving level. And if you're below that, you have something called an impaired. But you know what happens a lot of times? People go to parties, people have a good time, and they forget that they've had too much to drink, and they get in the car and they start weaving, or if they get on a cell phone and the cop pulls you over, you can have a lot of problems.
So, you know, like for example, when somebody goes to a party and has 3 beers or 4 beers in an hour, but then they stay in a party for another 2 hours.
You have to be very careful. And my best advice to people is, anybody, is to, if you're going to drink, get a designated driver, or don't drink to begin with if you're going to have to drive.
Right.
Because the cost factor in getting arrested for drunk driving is into the thousands, if not tens of thousands of dollars.
So what is the effect of, like, for example, what is the worst can happen for, you know, if somebody is arrested for drunk driving?
Well, first of all, at arraignments, what's going to happen is, let's say that I get arrested for drunk driving, and I have a reading of .08 or more.
Okay.
The New York State law requires that my license be suspended. You cannot drive.
Okay.
And if you get caught driving, you can be charged with the crime of aggravated unlicensed operation of a motor vehicle, which is a misdemeanor. It's another crime. You can lose your license, and then what's going to happen is every time your court case is on in court, unless a judge excuses your appearance, you have to show up. And your case can be on 5, 10, 15 times before a case is disposed of. And if you're not there, you don't show up, then, as I said, a bench warrant can be issued for you. What can happen is if you go to trial and get convicted, you can have a criminal record, and it can affect your ability to get a job. Or if you plead to the crime, let's say they offer you a plea deal, and you plead to the crime, you get a criminal record, because a plea is the same as a conviction after trial.
Okay. Okay. So it stays on your record also.
You get a record.
And
what a lot of people don't realize is that when you're going to look for a job, a lot of corporations do a background check on you.
Right.
And I'll ask you a question.
Right.
If you or I are applying for a job,
right,
and I have a criminal conviction for drunk driving, but I have a little bit better background, but you don't, who's going to get the job? You're going to get the job.
I'm going to get the job.
Right.
Yep.
So you really got to be careful. Plus, your insurance rates can double or triple on you.
Okay.
Because of the drunk driving conviction.
Okay.
So there's a lot of ramifications, and in certain circumstances, the DA might want forfeiture of your car involving drunk driving. Yeah, under certain circumstances.
I mean, if it is a lot more than the
if it's a second time around, they have certain criteria. You can also face forfeiture of your car too.
Right.
So there's a lot of bad ramifications, and the best advice to everybody again is, don't drink and drive, or have a designated driver to take you home.
Thank you very much. Judge will take a short break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
Please stay with us. Welcome back. We are having a conversation with Judge Fairgrieve. We just had a good discussion about drunk driving cases. Now we are going to go to the second subject, which is more important to our community. Many of us owns more than one houses, more than one real estate, and we have tenants. And also many of other side is that we do rent a place to live. There are certain implications when the dispute arises. So we're going to hear from Judge. That Judge, first let me ask you that, if let's say for example, if I'm a landlord and if I want to rent to someone, what should I follow so that I be safe, or I have a better tenant? Rather.
Okay, what I would strongly recommend is to do a background check on a potential tenant. You may want to consider doing a credit check on the person, and for references, you really want to call them to see if they really do pay on time, because everybody has heard of the professional tenant, somebody who pays maybe the first month, and then the second month comes, and then you get a song and dance about the money coming, and before you know it, 6 months has passed, and you're trying to be a nice person, and you're not getting the money that's due you. So you need to really check out somebody's background before you check, because renting to somebody, it's a business.
Yeah, it's a business.
It is a business, and that's the way you have to view it. And that's my best advice to somebody, is to check out the situation, check out the people, and treat it as a business.
Well, I am also a landlord myself, so I know what I did is, I asked the tenant to bring me 12 cancelled check of last, 12 months rent payment. So that was my way of saying that, hey, listen, you pay on time. So what are the rights of landlord? In case of something, let's say, if somebody goes to rent and they don't pay for 6 months.
Okay.
What do we do?
Okay. What I would tell landlords. See, what happens with a lot of landlords is they allow arrears to build up. Now, what is arrears? Arrears is money that's past due on rent. It's called arrears. And what a lot of people do in commercial and residential, they allow tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, and sometimes into the millions involving commercial property to build up without taking any action to collect the money. My advice to landlords would be that if somebody's not paying you, and there's really not a really legitimate reason for non-payment, you need to consider going into court and starting court proceedings to have a judge handle the situation, because when you go to court, it forces the issue. It brings it up, and you can work out what they call a stipulation of settlement in court. Most cases, I would say 99% of cases in landlord-tenant are settled by stipulation. Or the people work it out among themselves. But at least you don't allow a tremendous buildup of arrears. The big problem for a landlord is trying to collect money. Especially when people don't have much money, or the corporation you're renting to is about to go out of business.
Same thing happens with the tenant. Let's say they lose a job or something.
They lose a job because of the economy,
because of economy,
or health reasons.
Or health reasons.
People get cancer. People have heart attacks. I've seen it all. There are a lot of legitimate people out there who pay rent. I'll never forget these two people. They were about a year and a half ago. These two people, middle-aged people, came into me, and they were being sued for non-payment of rent. And they were both crying. They were crying because they both had lost their jobs in the downturn in the recent recession we've had. And I felt so bad for them. And they really were. They were not professional tenants. They really wanted to pay the rent, but they were down on their luck. And that's what happens sometimes. So you do have situations where people there are extenuating circumstances why people don't pay. So what I suggest is, if after a month goes by, if you haven't gotten the money, then I suggest you go into court and work out a payment schedule, or work out the situation. Don't let the arrears build up.
When does the police get involved? Does the police get involved at all?
No, the police don't get. They don't arrest people for non-payment of rent. What happened? Let me. Okay. There are two proceedings in landlord-tenant. One is non-payment of rent. Non-payment of rent. You can either have a commercial case, where you rent to a business, or a residential where you're renting out to an individual, an apartment, in an apartment building, or or in a house.
Right.
Now, what will happen is, if you work out a stipulation, what they call a stipulation of settlement,
Right.
in the stipulation of settlement, the tenant may agree to vacate
Okay.
within 2 months. Let's say that the tenant agrees to get out, the residential tenant or the commercial tenant.
Okay.
Let's say they don't get out, they stay in.
Right.
So what will happen is, you will get what they call a warrant,
Okay.
W-A-R-R-A-N-T,
Okay.
from the court.
Right.
Now, I handle most of the landlord-tenant in Nassau County.
Okay.
The only time I'm not there is when I'm doing criminal cases. You see, I'm an acting county court judge, and right now I'm doing some criminal work.
Okay.
In fact, this past week I actually wasn't in the criminal part. I was trying a major landlord-tenant case, and we're
okay.
going to finish it Tuesday.
Okay.
So this involves a multi-million-dollar property, and that's what I can talk about. I can't talk about. I'm not allowed, as a judge, I'm not allowed to talk about pending litigation. I'm going to say that I have a trial going on involving major property.
Right.
So this past week I'm finishing up a trial, and but when I'm not in a criminal part in Mineola, I'm in landlord-tenant part. So I would say, out of the year, 8 months I'm doing landlord-tenant, and in 4 months I'm doing criminal.
Okay. All right.
So there are two proceedings: non-payment or holdover.
Okay.
Non-payment is where there is a valid lease agreement, either written or oral, and people don't pay, so you bring a non-payment.
Okay.
And the people, agree to pay the rent, and if they don't pay the rent as called for, or if they don't get out as agreed, you get a warrant from the court, and you take that warrant to the Nassau County Sheriff. Then the Nassau County Sheriff is the one who will evict the people.
Okay, now let me go to the other side. Like, if I am a tenant, and let's say, landlord is supposed to provide me as per lease certain things, and they don't do that, they don't care. What are my rights as a tenant?
Okay, there's something under New York state law that's something called the warranty of habitability.
Okay.
That means a tenant is entitled to a habitable place. So let's say that you move in and there's roaches all around.
Okay.
Or the landlord had promised to fix the heating system and he didn't do it, and you're in the middle of winter. Well, what you're going to do is you can withhold the rent. You're allowed to withhold the rent because of the breach of warranty of habitability, or make a claim for it as you go into court. So tenants do have rights. There's in fact, I want to tell you about it. A lot of people are not aware of this. In the town of North Hempstead, where I am, in the unincorporated areas, a landlord is required to get a certificate of rental from the building department.
Okay.
And a lot of people are not aware of this. If you don't get that certificate of rental from the building department in the town of North Hempstead, the town code says you're not entitled to collect rent.
Oh, wow.
So let's say that you're a landlord, and you're in the let's say that you're in Port Washington, the non-village part, the unincorporated part, and you rent to me, and you don't have a valid certificate, can't collect rent.
So that means tenant is illegal and landlord is illegal.
It means
tenant is also illegal.
Well, it doesn't necessarily mean the tenant's illegal. The space could be illegal, but because the landlord didn't get the approval from the town, the town code specifically provides no rent. There are some jurisdictions that have that.
So that means landlord has no rights.
Well, the landlord
collect the
rent. Because they didn't obey the town code.
They cannot go to court to collect the rent.
Well, they can still get the person evicted.
Right.
Yeah. But they. In fact, I had a case about 4 to 5 years ago, where a landlord was suing for about $10,000 in rent, and they didn't have the proper certificate from the town of North Hempstead, and there was no money given because this person didn't have the required certificate.
Okay, so that's only in town of North Hempstead, or
there are some other places that have it. The village of Hempstead has been trying to pass a law. I don't know where it is right now. They were talking about it. I'm not sure they were doing it. The town of Oyster Bay and the town of Hempstead, I'm not sure if they have anything like that. I don't think they do right now.
Okay. What do you look when you decide a case? I mean, Do you look at me, or whether am I telling the truth, or what?
Yeah. Well, okay. Let me tell you how we operate. Okay. Well, before you have to decide a case,
right.
What I try to do is
Right.
we have calendar call.
Okay.
Right. We have a first calendar call and a second calendar call.
Okay.
After the second calendar call, if the people can't work out the dispute themselves, I bring the people up.
Okay.
And what I do a lot of times is, if the lawyers come in without their clients,
Okay.
and they can't settle the case among themselves,
Right.
I require the lawyers to bring in their clients. And I have a conference at the bench,
Okay.
and a lot of times I'm able to settle a case
Okay.
by having the clients there where everybody's talking to one another.
Okay.
Because I impressed upon people, I said, look it, you never know what's going to happen when you're going to go to trial.
Right.
Because a trial is in some ways a spinning the wheel, because you don't know how the evidence is going to go, you don't know how what people are going to testify.
Right.
So by settling a case, you have control. You have control.
Yeah, right.
And I tell people, I say, try to eliminate the emotion involved in it.
Right.
Treat it as a business deal. I tell everybody, treat it as a business deal.
And saves a lot of headache, and saves, a lot of...
Right. And the other thing that I tell landlords is, a lot of times some landlords get very hyped up about getting money from a tenant.
Right.
But there's a very bad situation going on between the people. And I tell the landlord, look it. First of all, I ask the landlord the question, do you think you have the ability to collect the money? And if they say to me, well, we're not sure, well, I'll say, well, you have a problem situation here. Wouldn't you rather end the problem and have the person agree to leave, whereas if you waive rent? See, in other words, what I'm saying is, in reaching a deal, a lot of times tenants will agree to get out quicker if the landlord waives all part of the rent.
I agree.
A quid pro quo, a business deal.
Business deal.
Yeah, and it gets it done. Negotiation,
That's
right.
it. That's all it is, basically.
Yeah, as I said, 99% of cases are settled.
Yep.
And that includes both residential and commercial.
So you are a judge and a negotiator.
Absolutely. And you try to, and you talk to people straight out. You listen
Right.
to them.
Yeah.
I think the quality I try to do is, I let everybody speak.
Right.
I let everybody have a say.
Right.
And then you try to cut through.
Right.
I've actually had one case took me a year and a half to settle.
Wow.
I got it settled after a year and a half, but I got it done.
That's a long time.
It was a commercial case. I was very proud of myself that I was able to do it, but I stayed with it. I've negotiated cases for hours on end. Most of the time I'm successful. Now, what happens is a lot of times in district court,
Right.
I have commercial cases
Right.
or residential cases, and there's litigation also going on in the Supreme Court. And a lot of times I'm able to get a global settlement so that all the legal matters are settled at one
Settled right
time.
there,
Yeah.
right.
So that the
That's
people,
good. Yeah,
so that the people don't have to spend tens of thousands of dollars on attorney's fees
Right.
when it can be avoided.
Right.
Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you actually have to try cases.
Okay.
And I would recommend to people who are your audience, if you're going to hire somebody to be your attorney,
Right.
make sure, and you think the case is going to go to trial, make sure that they have proper trial experience.
Oh, okay. That's important, because
Yes.
that reduces the fees also, because the time taken.
It
whatever.
can, and also it can make a big difference for a judge deciding a case.
Okay.
Because if somebody knows how to handle themselves in court,
Right.
they can get evidence introduced, where as if you get an inexperienced attorney,
Right.
it may cause a problem.
Right. Now, Judge, you're running for re-election this year for on November 6th.
In the town of
In
North
the town
Hempstead.
of North Hempstead, and a district court judge.
Right.
What are your major campaign issues?
That's where a lot of times people ask us, what's our stance on
Right.
abortion? What's our stance on capital punishment?
Right.
And the answer is, judges are not allowed to take stands on political issues.
Right.
The only thing we can talk about is our backgrounds.
Okay.
So I can't criticize my opponent.
Right.
Neither can he do me. I can't say that he lacks experience and then say, that's not allowed. You're only allowed to give your background.
Okay.
So that's what I'm doing.
Okay.
So I tell people, that I've been a judge 12 years. Very interesting. When I had to run again this year,
Right.
I had to fill out about a 40-page application for the Nassau County Bar Association.
Oh, Wow.
And they have something called the Judiciary Committee.
Okay.
And I had to fill out this application, and they actually assigned, I believe, 2 people. One person to investigate all the information on my application,
wow.
and another person to go on the internet and check me out on the internet to see if there's anything out there that would disqualify me from serving again as a judge.
Wow.
And now again, you know, this is my 3rd term. I've been a judge 12 years. I was found again well qualified by the Nassau County Bar Association, which is our highest rating.
Well, we want to wish you lots of luck on November 6th. And if you have any final message to the viewers, please.
Yeah, actually, I do want to tell the people.
Sure.
Down in court in Hempstead, you can actually get these pamphlets which tell you how to handle yourself in court.
Okay.
One is involving a landlord's guide to non-payment summary proceedings, and the other one is landlord's guide to holdover summary proceedings.
Okay.
And these are free. You can just go to 99 Main Street and get this.
And this is for town of North Hempstead as well?
No, this is for the Nassau County residents.
Nassau County, okay.
For Nassau County residents that they can get this for free.
Okay.
And they also, one other thing we do, I should mention to you, you can also get a small claims guide too in the district court, because we have a small claims part where people can go in and sue up to $5,000 and a small claims part, and they can sue a contractor that didn't do work right. They can sue a dress designer who didn't give a proper wedding dress, car repairs, everything.
Small places.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. All right, Judge, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, suggestions, comments, you can email me at rajmitv@gmail.com. Again, that's rajmitv@gmail.com. Until next time, see you. Thank you.
Thank you.